report out prior to the council meeting. City Council met in closed session with our labor negotiators, Chief Negotiator Timothy Davis with Burke, Williams, and Sorensen, and Agency Designated Representative Stacy Peterson, our Human Resources Director. This was a conference with labor negotiators pursuant to California Government Code Section 54957.6 to discuss our Roseville Police Officers Association and Roseville Firefighter Association Local 1592. Council received a report and provided direction, and there is nothing to report. For the record, the meeting adjourned at 5:56 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you and welcome. I'd like to welcome all of you to our Roseville City Council meeting of November 19th, 2025. I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask our clerk to please read the roll.
Thank you. We'll start off with Vice Mayor Elverd.
Here.
Councilmember Heldeshelt.
Here.
Councilmember Mendoza.
Here.
Councilmember Rakucci.
Here.
And Mayor Bernasconi.
Here. Thank you. I would like to ask retired Judge Ellen Panesci if he would please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to ask our clerk to please announce the meeting procedures.
Great, thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City of Roseville City Council meeting. Agendas are at the end of the corner over by the doors, should you need one and you're present tonight, or they are online on our city's website. All comments from the public should be directed to our City Council and not to any staff member or the public. All speakers must speak from the podium as this meeting is being recorded tonight. We wanted to note that due to the streaming from a temporary location outside of our regular City Council chambers, we will expect a short time lapse from one item to the next and when calling for public comment. We look forward to returning to our City Council chambers in the spring of 2026 and appreciate your patience and understanding as we work to ensure that we have a smooth experience while in our temporary location. With that, items not appearing on the agenda or non-agenda items, members of the public may address the City Council regarding any item that is not listed on tonight's agenda and within the subject matter jurisdiction of our City Council. Public comment is limited to 25 minutes for the first segment, with each speaker having 3 minutes to express their comments. During the time limit, if the time limitation is reached during our first segment, there will be a second segment at the end of the meeting, just prior to council comments, where the public will have a second opportunity to express their comments to the council again. The Brown Act does prohibit our City Council from discussing, debating, or taking actions on items that are not listed on the agenda. For those items that appear on the agenda tonight, the Brown Act does allow for the public to comment on all items that are listed. Speakers will have 5 minutes to provide input, and the input should be relevant to the item that is being considered tonight. Time will be monitored, and once the light begins to blink at the podium, we request that the speaker please conclude their comments. The City Council encourages public participation and requests that you please be courteous during the meeting. Lastly, if addressing our City Council, please consider stating your name for the record. With that, welcome to the City of Roseville.
Thank you. Thank you, Carmen. All right, we will start this evening with one presentation. We have a resolution for Alan V. Panesci, and you can meet me at the podium. Okay, this is quite an honor to present Alan Panesci, retired judge, retired presiding court judge of Pasco County. You're going to hear a little bit about him this evening. It's an honor for me to do this as a family friend and someone I really look up to, who has always demonstrated integrity and honor, and also has a really great personality to go along with it too. So we will start with Councilmember Heldeshelt, and we'll each take portions of the resolution.
Whereas the Honorable Alan V. Panesci is retiring, or has retired, from the Superior Court of California, County of Placer, after serving for 30, couldn't make 40? Couldn't make 40? Okay.
Everybody asks that
39
question.
years.
Everybody asks
And
that.
Whereas Judge Panesci served as mayor of Roseville November 12, 1985 through September 19, 1986, representing the city with dignity and professionalism, and
Whereas Judge Panesci dedicated time to mentoring new judges and court staff, sharing his knowledge and experience to help the next generation of leaders carry forward a culture of fairness and public service, and
Whereas his dedication to fairness, community service, and the integrity of the judiciary, excuse me, has left a legacy on the Superior Court of Placer County and the greater Placer County community.
Now therefore it be resolved by the City Council of Roseville, California, that Honorable Alan V. Panesci be commended for his outstanding service, leadership, and contributions to the betterment of the Roseville community, and we extend our best wishes for continued success and future endeavors. Thank you for your service. You know, you have your bride with you,
Yep.
Susan, tonight. But if you want to say a few words, you're welcome to, and this is for you. Thank you.
Well, Mayor Bernasconi, thank you for this. Members of the council, thank you for this. I appreciate it. Administrative staff, thank you as well. And I introduced my wife, Susan. Anyway, we would have bought a bigger crowd, but I didn't tell anybody about it, so. Except- Anyway, thank you. I want to acknowledge, of course, my family and also the court staff that I've worked with since I started after leaving the council. Court staff, you know, year in and year out, does like your staff and city staff, works hard to make things right and have things turn out the right way for the public's benefit. So I want to acknowledge all the court staff, you know, colleagues over the years who have been supportive. When I've been presiding judge, they've been very supportive. We had some, you know, rough times like everyone does, and during that time, and also COVID, our court staff and other judges and commissioners of our court did an excellent job keeping things running. We never closed the court, ever. We did have to do some adjustments. Sierra College let us use their auditorium for trials during COVID, as did Whitney High School. So we were able to get through that mess relatively safely. So anyway, that's all I want to say. Thank you very much for doing this. I appreciate it, and our family appreciates it. And maybe I'll see you again. I feel like I owe you 2 years, since I only did 2 years of my term, so we'll see.
Come back around, you know. Before you go,
Yes.
can the council come around and take a picture with you real
Sure,
quick?
if you want to.
Yes, we'd like to. This is a little clunky, but maybe you come around this
Okay.
You go first. Yours is going to
Okay.
be better.
Squeeze in.
All right. There we go, yeah. Ah, that's official. All right, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Great, thank you.
Okay, look over and I'll grab one too. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Congratulations.
All right, now we will move into public comment. Now will be a time for anyone to speak on any item that's not on the agenda. We do have a few speaker cards. We will start with those. The first one is Robert Dobbins. Did you want to come forward?
Robert Dobbins, I'm a resident of Roseville. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I'm here today to share critical information regarding our state's voter rolls and voter history from the 2024 general election. This information comes from extensive research conducted by a team of data experts at Unite for Freedom, a nationwide, nonpartisan, volunteer organization. Their team meticulously analyzed official election files from both federal and state sources. While I'm not an official spokesperson for Unite for Freedom, I'm a dedicated volunteer who is deeply concerned by the findings that are based exclusively on official state election data. Our analysis of the certified results from both the 2022 and 2024 general elections reveals that not all votes counted were valid and accurate under the law. These findings are substantial and warrant careful consideration. They have already been shared with state election officials and law enforcement agencies and have been submitted as evidence in federal court as part of an ongoing litigation by Unite for Freedom and other parties. Unite for Freedom is not alone in raising these concerns. Recent executive actions at the federal level, such as the executive order entitled, quote, "Preserving and Protecting the Integrity of American Elections," unquote, underscore the urgent need to enforce and clarify existing election laws. These directives are intended to guide state compliance and ensure the election crimes are prosecuted because the integrity of our electoral system is at stake. Therefore, we are here to seek your awareness, understanding, and support and action. We are proposing a resolution that highlights key statistics and calls for an end to the inaccuracies and uncertainties that compromise our elections. By adopting this resolution, you will demonstrate your commitment to your constituents' concerns, your dedication to upholding voter civil rights, and the integrity of our elections in Placer County. It is imperative to address these issues now. If we do not act, the same election systems and procedures that led to errors in 2022 and in 2024 will likely produce similar results in the upcoming 2026 general election. At this time, I'll turn it over to our next reader to present the resolution.
The next speaker we have is Brian Brubaker.
That's me, ma'am. Madam Mayor, City Council members, my name is Brian Brubaker, and I'm a resident of Placer County. To continue, we will now read the resolution entitled "Resolution for a Legacy Valid 2026 General Election." Whereas free and fair elections from the cornerstone of the Republic of the United States, as stated in Reynolds versus Sims, the right of suffrage can be denied by a debasement or dilution of the weight of a citizen's vote just as effectively as by wholly prohibiting the free exercise of the franchise. Whereas election officials bear the responsibility to ensure elections remain accurate and free from manipulation. In re Coy, the United States Supreme Court affirmed the election officials must strictly adhere to federal and state laws governing process, defining election misconduct as follows: the evil intent consists of disobedience to the law. Whereas our constitutional system of representative government relies on four fundamental principles for validity in our elections. Number one, accurate voter rolls. Election officials must maintain voter registration lists that are current and correct, which includes facilitating and registering the eligible citizens as well as preventing and the registration of non-citizens, fictitious names, and ineligible applicants, according to National Voter Registration Act of 1993. Number two, eligible votes only. Election officials must only count votes cast by the eligible citizen voters, according to U.S. Constitution 14th Amendment, Section 2. Number three, vote reconciliation. Election officials must ensure that the number of votes counted matches the number of participating voters. And four, system accuracy. Voting systems must achieve accuracy standards set by Congress by limiting ballot counting errors to no more than one error per 125,000 ballots, according to Help America Vote Act of 2002. Election officials must substantiate assertions of accurate outcomes with transparent records. Whereas Unite for Freedom conducted an independent audit of the California 2024 general election, it uncovered alarming irregularities. 9,539,574 material errors and omissions in the voter registration database. 5,588,594 votes improperly counted from the ineligible or uncertain registrants. 77,085 excess votes counted from beyond the number of voters who participated with no explanation of their origin, and 5,588,484 voting violations exceeding the legal error threshold, where 130 errors were only allowed under federal law. The audit findings indicate severe violations of state and federal election laws and potential fraudulent certification.
The next speaker we have is Deanne Graydon.
Yes. Thank you, Brian. I'll continue where Brian left off. Whereas election accuracy is defined as the ability to capture and report voter selection without error. By definition, only eligible citizens are voters. Election officials violate civil rights, undermine public trust, and jeopardize national security when they certify an election that fails to reach the standard. Whereas the irregularities in the official records of the 2024 general election call into question the validity of that election, threatening the guaranteed protection of our natural rights under the Republican form of government. This emergency inflicts immeasurable harm on our families, our way of life, and the fabric of the United States. It raises the specter of false representation in the U.S. Congress and state government, an allegation that election officials are currently unable to prove. Therefore, be it resolved, the Roseville City Council and Placer County demand immediate action to ensure legal, valid, and transparent 2026 general elections by implementing the following 5 measures. 1, the infrastructure compliance. Election officials must ensure that all voting systems meet Federal Information Security Modernization Acts, the FISMA, standards and maintain compliance throughout the entire election process. Number 2, voter verification. Verify all voters are legally eligible U.S. citizens before their votes are counted. If a voter's ineligibility is in question, their vote must be held as provisional until legally verified. Number 3, ballot security. Enforce all issued and counted ballots to comply with robust chain of custody protocols. To secure ballots from forgery, tampering, coercion, destruction, and injection. Number 4, accurate counts. Ensure all voted ballots are received and every valid ballot is accurately counted, with any material questions resolved through lawful adjudication procedures with oversight. And number 5, proven outcomes. Election officials must investigate and resolve, or if necessary, re-administer any election that cannot be proven accurate and compliant. In every jurisdiction, officials must provide records substantiating election and initiative results to citizens. Additionally, officials must securely store all ballots and operational records, including electronic records, to protect them from auditing purposes from tampering and altercation. Be it further resolved that the City of Roseville Council calls upon the State of California and federal legislator, law enforcement agencies, prosecutors, judges, and election boards to uphold these principles, ensuring the legal compliance and restore public confidence in our election systems.
All right, the next speaker is Adrian Yule.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Adrienne Ewell. I'm here to read the conclusion. In conclusion, you have just heard a resolution that exposes significant inaccuracies from voter registration through the certification of the 2024 general election. It calls for immediate substantive action to ensure the integrity of the 2026 general election. Election for all voters. The resolution is firmly grounded in multiple U.S. Supreme Court precedents, which underscore the necessity of these corrective measures. Our current election procedures do not fully comply with established laws, and these laws are too often disregarded. Some citizens, including elected officials, mistakenly believe that these issues can be ignored because the president, the current administration, or other officials are handling it. This complacency represents an abdication of civic responsibility. Benjamin Franklin's warning, if it's a republic, only if you keep it, applies not only to that generation, our generation, future generations. Your leadership and decisive action are urgently needed. Our voting system, which should protect our most fundamental right, the right to choose our representatives, is failing to deliver accurate, transparent, and verifiable results. Should we continue to ignore the anomalies within our election system, a system essential to our national security? The cost of inaction extends far beyond dollars. It threatens our economy, military, foreign policy, public health, the confidence of our youth, and our national dignity. The stakes could not be higher. I urge you to demonstrate your commitment to American representative government by passing the resolution. Let us consider the broader context. Many Americans, a significant number of residents in California and Placer County, have concerns about the reliability and transparency of our elections. While we all wish there were not the case, official government data substantiates these concerns, and the law requires that they be addressed to safeguard our liberty. Regrettably, government representatives at various levels have not been transparent or responsive to citizen audits of official election data. The right to choose our representatives through lawful and transparent elections is the cornerstone of our republic, a right fiercely defended for over 2 centuries by the sacrifices of our brothers, fathers, mothers, sisters, and even for some of us, our children. Today, you have the opportunity to uphold the legacy and demonstrate your constituents that you value American liberty by passing this resolution. For further information, the Unite for Freedom website provides information, videos explaining the anomalies. It's Unite number 4 for freedom. Thank you for your time.
Copies. Can I?
Thank you. Is there anyone else here tonight that would like to make a comment on an item that's not on the agenda? Now would be your time to come forward. Good evening.
I hadn't planned on being here. I've never done anything like this, so excuse me
Welcome.
with that. My name is Margaret Lowry. I'm a resident of Roseville. I am a senior citizen living in a senior citizen establishment on Wharton Avenue off of Market. The problem I have is my own personal safety in walking my dogs, because the kids, when they get out of school, it's like an army of them. They're on the sidewalks. They have no respect for anybody walking. Today, one biker came right up behind me, and my dog stopped at my heels. I turned around. There was a whole bunch of the kids there. I said, there's a bike lane right there. That's where you should be, is in the bike lane. So I called the police department to find out what the rules and regulations are for these motor bikes and motor scooter things. And on 2 different occasions I called. The first occasion I called, they said, well, it's illegal for kids to be riding the scooters. They should be 16 years of age. However, the parents buy the scooters for the kids, and we can't regulate them. I just noticed City of Roseville has beautiful bike lanes and marked with beautifully colored bricks to say what the traffic pattern should be. But the sidewalk should be for pedestrians and my dogs to walk safely and not be concerned about being hit and run over. And the one event that happened, I was standing on Market Street, crossing, I was looking down at my phone, and this kid comes right at me playing chicken with me. I looked up, and he was right in my face and did a turn to miss hitting me. And they just thought it was the funniest thing that they had ever seen. While I'm standing there hardly going, oh my God, heart be still. It's scary. It's scary out there, but it's more concerning to me that if we have rules and regulations concerning this and they're not being enforced, the police department, somebody spokesman said, well, it starts at the family. Well, I agree. Everything starts at the family. But there's still decency and manners that need to be displayed, and the kids don't know it. They don't know it. I can't find out what the rules are. I was told by the police department that kids, it's illegal for them to ride scooters, and they should wear helmets. If there's rules, it needs to be enforced. And for me, my public safety is my concern, as well as my other senior citizens friends who are afraid to walk on the sidewalks there. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else here tonight that would like to make a comment on any item that's not on the agenda? Now would be your time to come forward. We'll also have a public comment at the end of the meeting as well. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Bring it back to the council. We will start with our consent calendar.
Great, thank you. Consent calendar items are considered routine in nature and approved by one motion of our city council. Any item may be pulled for further discussion by either our city council staff or a member of the public. We do have one item that has been requested to be pulled. That's item number 3 by our city council. Staff has not made any request. Is there any member of the public that would like to pull an item? Seeing none, at this time, on item number 14, there is an administrative error correction to the resolution number printed on the agenda. It should be noted as resolution number 25360. The record will be amended to reflect this correction. In addition, item number 3 is being pulled, and with that, the city council will consider consent calendar items 2 and 4 through 19, with the correction noted on item 14. May I please have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor with a second. We'll start a roll call with Vice Mayor Albert.
Yes.
Councilmember Haldeshelt.
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza.
Yes.
Councilmember Rakucci.
Yes.
And Mayor Bernasconi.
Yes.
With that, we'll bring item number 3. Item number 3 is a massage services municipal code amendment. I'll turn it over to our city attorney.
Well, my questions were really for staff. Do we have staff that can answer a couple questions?
We do.
Yes.
Yeah, Travis and Erica are both here.
Sit down.
So this is the massage ordinance, the municipal code adjustment. There's some cleanup language that we're taking place. My questions are just around hours of operation. Are you able to share what the hours are at this point, and if there's been any exploration of changing the hours of operation for massage businesses?
Sure. You want to take it, or you want me to? Okay. The current ordinance allows permitted massage businesses to operate from 6 a.m. Through 10 p.m. I can tell you that not all of them are open during those times. That's just the window that you possibly could be open. We have done a lot of consideration and diligence with respect to possibly changing those times. It's something that we are currently looking into. Erica, or CSO Broussard, just put together an analysis of the businesses that currently operate in Roseville and what their actual hours are, because many of them are within that. We do have a handful that are open until 10 p.m. Most of them close earlier. I don't believe we have any that actually open at 6 a.m. I'm not sure what the earliest is. Many of them are within normal business hours. But we agree that the hours are fairly broad. It was interesting. We started looking at other jurisdictions, and a lot of them have similar hours as well. Probably broader than necessary. And so we are looking at shrinking those down. We just want to make sure that we do our diligence in looking at our current businesses, how they operate, and certainly don't want to negatively impact anybody's legitimate business. So that's something we're certainly exploring. We're just putting the data together for it. One of the other things that we currently do to sort of offset some of the issues we've seen in the past with respect to businesses being open late is if we do have issues, one of the authorities that we do have when we issue a permit is we can impose conditions on that permit. So we do have a handful of businesses where we've allowed them to continue to operate, but because of issues in the past, we do have restrictions on their permit that either require them to open after a certain time or close, earlier in the evening, whether that be 7, 8, or 9 p.m. So we do have some administrative processes in place now that also allow us to restrict those hours where it's necessary.
Okay, thank you. I'm in favor of the cleanup language to this amendment. I know the goal from our city and CSO Broussard, you've done an amazing job working with these businesses, but if our goal is to reduce illicit behavior or discourage opportunities for that, I believe that staying open till 10 o'clock is not needed. And it seems like, I know there's been a lot of enforcement and issues that we've come across, but it seems like something more like 8 p.m. would be more reasonable. I'm not asking for it that at this time. I think you all should just explore to see if that's possible, but I just would like to just share that with my council members, that I would be in favor of not being open until 10 o'clock. I mean, it's more reasonable for that activity in our city, with relation to, sex trafficking or, illicit, unwanted behavior in our city. So that's really my comment that I wanted to make sure that I shared with my council. Any other comments of council, and then we'll go to public comment.
Yeah. So would Villa Sports, Lifetime, Massage Envy is implied by its name, but Villa Sports and Lifetime, would they require a massage permit
They have.
if they offer those services?
They do have, all those establishments do have current and active massage business permit issued.
And their hours are probably before 6 a.m. and maybe they close. I don't belong to it, so I'm asking for a friend.
Sure. Based on the time study, I pulled all the applications and did some research online, and I didn't have any businesses that started at 6 a.m. There was a small handful that started very earliest at 7 a.m. There was maybe 5 or 6 that fell in between the 9 and 10 o'clock range.
Right. And I'm sorry, I didn't hear, maybe because I had my mouth open, about Lifetime and Villa Sports. Do they have a separate massage permit, and are they?
As far as Villa Sport, there is a handful of independent contractors that are working there, and
Okay.
none of them work that late.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Sure.
And Mayor and Councilman, you bring up a great point, and that's one of the reasons we didn't move forward with the change now, is because we want to do that diligence. And I think one of the things we may explore is having more limited hours as part of the ordinance, but creating exemptions that we can include in conditions of the permit. So if you have a Villa Sport that's open, I don't know if they're open 24 hours, or a Lifetime that has kind of a reason to be open in a different time, that makes more sense than just having a business in a shopping mall where every other business is closed and you're providing massages, either before operating hours of other places and so on. So that's something that we just want to give consideration to and make sure that it's sort of equitable across the board. And if you have a reason to operate maybe outside of those hours, that might make sense. We can create that exemption in the permit, but just allowing everybody to, I think, from the just issuance of the permit may not be the best idea currently.
And so the language that's in the ordinance right now allows for what you just said?
The language in the ordinance right now, unless we do something different and impose a condition in their permit, generally allows a business to operate from 6 until 10.
Thank you.
Any other comments of council before we have public comment? No? Was there anyone here tonight that would like to comment on this item? Now would be your time to come forward. Seeing none, we'll close public comment, and unless there's anything else from the council, we'll think we're ready for a vote.
With that, the City Council will consider the recommendation to introduce for a first reading an ordinance amending Chapter 9.10 of the Roseville Municipal Code regarding massage services. With that, may I please have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. We'll start our roll call with Vice Mayor Albert.
Yes.
Councilmember Haldeshelt.
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza.
Yes.
Councilmember Cucci.
Yes.
And Mayor Bernasconi.
Yes, thank you. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item we have before us is item 20, Government Relations 2025 Legislative Review. From our Public Relations and Communications staff. Good evening.
Evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you very much for having us here tonight. I'm Rob Becerra, the city's Government and Community Relations Manager, and I'm joined by Amber Blix, the Electric Department's Government Relations Administrator, and Sarah Starr, the Environmental Utilities Department Government Relations Representative. We are here tonight to present the Government Relations 2025 Legislative Review. I'll do a brief overview of the legislative timeline. Then each of us will do a high-level review of the bills we tracked this past year, with a deeper dive into some of the significant pieces of legislation on our radar. With almost 2,400 bills introduced this year in the state legislature, our team had no problem staying busy analyzing, tracking, and advocating on behalf of the city. As a reminder, the governor had until October 12th to sign or veto legislation on his desk. Those items that were signed or enacted take effect January 1st. Some laws take effect July 1st related to special statutes or if there's budget impacts that have to be considered. The legislature will reconvene on January 5th for the second year of the two-year legislative cycle. In 2025, from a citywide perspective, so excluding electric in EU, we tracked 319 bills across 12 departments and divisions. I think flick back, go back, there we go. We actively engaged in 25 measures and identified those with potentially the most significant impact to the city. The information on the screen shows the outcomes of the 319 bills initially identified. 144 were turned into two-year bills, 109 were chaptered, and 5 were vetoed. Over the next few slides, I'll review some of the significant legislation tracked this year. The first 6 bills were signed by the governor and are now law, and the last 3 were vetoed by the governor. AB 339, this bill expands the Brown Act to require at least 45 days written notice to recognized employee organizations before a city council or local agency issues a request for proposal, RFP, or request for quotes, RFQ, or renews or extends contracts that involve services performed by represented classifications. Emergency exceptions apply, but must provide as much notice as practicable. This bill sought to increase transparency in public sector contracting and may extend procurement timelines where labor groups represented impacted classifications. The city may see operational implications where contracted services overlap union positions. AB 370, this bill amends the California Public Records Act to classify cyber attacks that disable electronic servers or systems as unusual circumstances, allowing local agencies additional time beyond the standard 10 days to respond to public records requests until access is restored. This law provides clarity during cybersecurity incidents, allowing the temporary timeline extensions without violating the PRA. It highlights coordination between IT and the city clerk's office and communications when outages affect transparency obligations. AB 492, this bill requires the Department of Healthcare Services to notify cities or counties when licensing a substance use disorder recovery or treatment facility, including licensee name, mailing address, and facility location. This bill provides earlier notification, which enhances local awareness of new facilities and supports zoning verification, community engagement, and interdepartmental coordination. AB 875, this bill authorizes removal of vehicles with fewer than 4 wheels that are powered by an electric motor capable of exceeding 20 miles per hour when operated by an unlicensed driver, and authorizes removal of Class 3 e-bikes operated by persons under 16. It allows agencies to recover administrative costs and, in certain cases, condition release on completion of a safety course. This statute provides tools to address unsafe micromobility behavior and unlicensed operation, with potential benefits for corridor safety and youth education initiatives. SB 456. This bill exempts muralists from contractor licensing requirements when commissioned by an authorized party to draw, paint, apply, execute, restore, or conserve a mural. This bill simplifies public art engagements and can encourage placemaking and neighborhood beautification efforts. SB 707. This bill effective July 1st, 2026, requires eligible local legislative bodies to provide two-way telephonic or audiovisual public participation for open meetings and to adopt policies addressing disruptions or telephonic or internet services. This bill expands accessibility and formalizes hybrid participation standards, which, with implications for room technology, staffing, and meeting procedures. The city will have to mitigate the new requirements in this legislation, which will create operational adjustments and added workload to achieve. The last three bills were vetoed by the governor. AB 400. This bill would have required the Commission of Peace Officer Standards and Training to study and issue recommendations on the use of police canines, identifying standards for patrol and detection operations by July 1st, 2028. Although vetoed, the measure reflects ongoing legislative interest in statewide oversight of police canine programs. Future proposals could introduce reporting, certification, or operational standards affecting local agencies. AB 738. This bill would have temporarily allowed certain post-disaster home rebuilds to meet the solar photovoltaic requirements that were in effect when the original home was built through January 1st, 2028. This bill was vetoed, and although not enacted, the concept signals legislative interest in easing compliance burdens during disaster recovery and could affect local permitting processes if reintroduced. And finally, SB 757. This bill would have authorized cities or counties to collect nuisance abatement fines via liens or special assessments and directed recovered revenue to housing streamlining or revolving loan purposes. The bill reflects policy trends linking code enforcement and housing outcomes. If reconsidered, similar measures could expand cost recovery tools while incorporating equity safeguards. With that, I'll turn it over to Amber for the electric presentation.
Good evening, Mayor Bernasconi and council members. I'm Amber Blixt with the Electric Department. This year, the Electric Department tracked 185 bills and actively engaged on 16 measures. This slide is a snapshot of that engagement. Of these bills, there were 3 high-priority items that passed for our sector this year that will have impacts for years to come. And it was remarkable that these 3 high-priority items passed all in 1 year, and we are glad to say that we were able to support all 3. The first of these that I want to talk about is AB 1207, and this is on the Cap and Trade program, which will now be called the Cap and Invest program going forward. This program sets a statewide limit on greenhouse gas emissions and sends a price signal to drive long-term investment in cleaner fuels and more efficient uses of energy. Utilities like Roseville are regulated under the Cap and Trade program and must submit allowances for associated carbon emissions. Roseville receives free allowances under this program to mitigate compliance costs for our customers, and we can use these allowances for both consignment and compliance. The Cap and Trade program needed additional authorization from the legislature to continue beyond 2030 and provide the market with certainty that the program would continue. AB 1207 reauthorized the program through 2045, remained neutral on impacts to publicly owned utilities like Roseville with regards to the existing allocation structure, and it did not change how we can use our compliance instruments. One unexpected but welcome change that came out of the legislation is the redistribution of allowances from the gas corporations to publicly owned utilities, which we will be required to return to our customers as a direct credit. So more information on the mechanics of this program are starting to be developed now through the California Air Resources Board's regulatory process that has already kicked off because this was an urgency bill that went into effect immediately. We were able to support AB 1207 through our trade associations with energy affordability as a key driver to our advocacy. We advocated to maintain utility allocation levels under current practice and to ensure that our allowances could continue to be used for compliance and consignment. And our involvement in this process really helped shape the successful outcome of this legislation, which will be with our industry through 2045.
The next law was another big one that for the energy sector this year, AB 825 on regional energy markets, which we also supported. And this bill allows California entities to voluntarily participate in energy markets whose rules are governed by an independent regional organization in the 2028 timeframe. Specifically, it positions California and the West to have a seamless energy market in the day-ahead energy market. Several requirements must be met over the coming years before an independent regional organization can form, including tariff modifications with the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, a resolution from the California Independent System Operator indicating that specific requirements have been met, and a California Public Utilities Commission determination and final decision. But importantly, AB 825 initiates a process and signals a willingness from California to partner with the rest of the West to expand access to generation, increase reliability, and deliver lower costs, which are really the benefits that we'd be looking at from a Roseville perspective. Passage of AB 825 was necessary in 2025 to avoid California being on an island as other electricity markets were forming in the West. And Roseville supported AB 825 during the final days of the legislative session when the bill was amended to include a workable framework for an independent regional organization. And then the final piece of legislation that I wanted to bring before the council tonight is SB 254, also a new law on wildfire mitigation plan submittal. SB 254 modifies the wildfire mitigation plan submittal timeline to at least once every 4 years, as determined by the state's Wildfire Safety Advisory Board. Currently, we have been submitting updates to the board on an annual basis. SB 254 allows us to focus on meaningful safety improvements while reducing administrative burden. And we supported SB 254 and are currently engaging in the regulatory process with the Wildfire Safety Advisory Board regarding POU-specific timelines going forward. So while we engaged on several bills during this year's session, these were the three most impactful new laws to our department. And I will now turn it over to Sarah Starr with Environmental Utilities.
Good evening, Mayor Bernasconi and council members. I'm Sarah Starr with the Environmental Utilities Department. Tonight, I'll highlight some of EU's advocacy throughout this year. We tracked over 230 bills affecting our water, wastewater, and waste services utilities. Of those bills, we actively engaged on 26 measures, either directly or through our statewide associations. We watched 153 bills. These are measures that we monitor to determine potential impacts to our utilities, but we don't take a formal position on. We supported 12 bills, 4 were signed into law, and 2 were vetoed. These measures align with our legislative platform and revolve around issues like water affordability, permit streamlining, extended producer responsibility, and source control measures. We opposed or opposed unless amended 12 bills, 4 of which were signed into law, and most were made into 2-year bills and have the potential to be brought back up in January. And then we were neutral on 1 bill. Additionally, we were able to change our position on 3 bills, 2 from an oppose unless amended to a neutral, and 1 from a watch to a support. Now I'll highlight 2 bills that were signed into law. We supported SB 72 by Senator Caballero, which directs the Department of Water Resources to modernize the California Water Plan and establishes an interim water supply planning target of achieving an additional 9 million acre-feet of water capacity by 2040. SB 72 is a multi-year effort sponsored by the California Municipal Utilities Association. Last year, an identical bill was introduced, which was ultimately vetoed by the governor due to ongoing statewide costs. With that in mind, CMUA wanted to address the issue of the funding mechanism by attaching a budget request to SB 72 to provide the necessary funding for the state to implement the bill. At the end of the session, there was a major effort to lobby the governor's office, which included folks from DWR, and although the funding request ended up not being included in the 2025 budget, SB 72 was still signed into law by the governor as it aligns with California's goals to manage climate change and identify new water resources throughout the state. Next, we also supported SB 499 by Senator Stern. This bill authorizes local agencies to once again collect water and wastewater connection fees and capacity charges at the time an application for a development project is received. Last year, SB 937 made it through the legislature,
which made it so utilities couldn't collect these connection fees and capacity charges until a certificate of first occupancy was issued. This is a major problem because it would require Roseville to front the costs to connect water and sewer services with no ability to recoup these costs until much later down the line. Additionally, there were also potential Propositions 218 and 26 concerns over shifting the costs of new developments onto ratepayers. SB 499 ensures that utilities and its ratepayers don't have to bear the costs to connect into the system. And finally, the last bill I'll highlight was vetoed by the governor. SB 682 by Senator Allen would have, beginning January 1st, 2028, prohibited a person from distributing, selling, or offering for sale a cleaning product, dental floss, children's products, food packaging, or ski wax if it contains intentionally added PFAS. Additionally, beginning January 1st, 2030, the prohibition would have been expanded to cookware items with intentionally added PFAS. The California Association of Sanitation Agencies sponsored SB 682 on the heels of legislation from last year, which died due to a lack of flexibility for producers to comply. SB 682 provided that flexibility for producers where PFAS is considered an unavoidable use, thereby allowing the industry more time to develop better and safer alternatives. Through Roseville's legislative platform, we have taken a proactive approach to supporting source control measures for chemicals like PFAS that have the potential to impact our utilities. The broad reduction of these chemicals means less cost to our ratepayers, and there is less particles to treat and remove. Ultimately, SB 682 made national news with opposition coming from the cookware industry, which resulted in the governor vetoing this measure. And this concludes my summary of bills for EU, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
To wrap up our presentation, we would like to thank Vice Mayor Alvord and Councilmember Mendonça, who serve on the Law and Regulation Committee, which is the primary committee that this team works with throughout the year. We are actively planning for 2026 with the legislative platform likely coming to council in early 2026 for your review. With that, any questions?
Any questions of Rob or Amber or Sarah? If none, okay.
thank you.
Let's see, I'll open this up for public comment. Is there anyone who would like to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. We know this is informational only. We will not be voting on it. We appreciate.
If I might, just thank staff and thank those who've ever served on law and regulation. This is something that Roseville has that is so valuable for its business community and its citizens. And no doubt that these folks here and their predecessors have helped influence legislation and provided their perspective that's been valued by CMUA, the electric industries, and other things like that. So just wanted to acknowledge their good work on behalf of our entire community.
Thank you, Councilmember Haushout.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item, we have a public hearing, item 21, public facilities fee update, Nexus study adoption, and the Roseville Municipal Code amendment. I'll open the public hearing and invite our staff to start the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor Bernasconi, council members. Tonight, staff are recommending the City Council hold a public hearing for the first reading of an ordinance to approve the 2025 Public Facilities Fee Nexus Study and Fee Update. The presentation tonight will be provided by Scott Pettengill, the city's finance director, and Jamie Gomes, the managing principal from the consulting firm of Economic and Planning Systems, or EPS. Scott will start the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I'm going to start with a quick overview of what a development impact fee is and how it works. The city's public facilities fee, or PFF, is one of our major development impact fees. It's charged on new development to help offset the impact of growth, specifically the need for new or expanded facilities to serve new residents and businesses. By law, this fee must be legally defensible and comply with the Mitigation Fee Act, which establishes a framework for cities to follow when adopting and administering development impact fees. The public facilities fee, like all development impact fees in California, is governed by the Mitigation Fee Act found in Government Code Section 66000. And this act establishes the rules cities must follow to ensure fees are both legally defensible and transparent. To comply, the city must prepare a nexus study, which demonstrates the relationship between new development and the public facilities needed to serve it. The law also requires that fees be proportional, meaning that the amount charged to each type of development must reasonably reflect the level of impact it creates. So in other words, we can't collect more than is justified by that impact. And finally, a newer law, AB 602, requires cities to calculate residential fees based on the square footage of a home rather than just the land use type. And I'll be going into that new legislation a bit more in a moment here. This next slide highlights what the fee can and can't be used for. The fee can be used for new improvements that are needed to serve new development, things like new public safety, park, or community facilities that growth makes necessary. What it can't be used for are improvements needed to serve existing development or fix existing deficiencies. And it also can't be used for ongoing operations and maintenance. Therefore, those costs have to be covered through other city funding sources. The city's public facilities fee was last comprehensively updated in 2020, and since then, it's been adjusted each year by a construction cost index, or CCI. It's paid by new residential and commercial development projects, and these fees can only be used to build public facilities, things like police station, parks, and other city buildings that support community services. Before we get into the details of the update itself, I did want to touch briefly on where things stand today. The last comprehensive update kept the fee relatively low compared to rising construction costs over the past several years. And at the same time, Roseville's population has continued to grow, which increased demand for new parks, libraries, and public safety facilities, as well as other civic buildings. And lastly, the city continues to maintain a strong reputation for high-quality public facilities, but the fee now needs to be revisited to reflect the current conditions as well as future demands. In terms of our new challenges, first, construction and facility costs have risen faster than the fee adjustments have occurred each year. In other words, the fee revenue isn't keeping up with the actual costs of the new facilities. Second, other potential funding sources like grants or the general fund support haven't increased at the same rate as construction costs, so there's less capacity to fill that gap. And third, there's less capacity of city funds overall. Much of what we have available is needed for core services and maintenance of existing infrastructure. And at the same time, we have ongoing community expectations for parks, recreation facilities, and public safety facilities. And finally, existing facilities like our police facility are already at or near capacity, which limits our ability to accommodate continued growth without new investment. As part of updating the public facilities fee, state law requires that we prepare a new nexus study, as I mentioned earlier, and this study provides the legal and technical foundation for the fee update. It demonstrates the relationship between new development and the need for new public facilities, basically showing that the updated fee reflects gross fair share of those costs. The study identifies what types of facilities will be needed as the community continues to grow, estimates the cost of providing those facilities, and allocates those costs proportionally across the residential and commercial developments. It also ensures the updated fee complies with that recent legal requirement, including AB 602. Diving a little bit deeper into 602, this is the biggest change for Roseville is how residential fees must now be calculated. They're based on square footage rather than land use type. And this new structure ties fees more directly to the actual size and impact of the project, rather than applying a single rate to every housing type. It also allows different rates for different kinds of residential development. And finally, AB 602 adds some new requirements for capital planning, regular nexus study updates, as well as expanded reporting and transparency requirements. So to give some sense of how these funds have been used in the city of Roseville, here are a few examples of projects that were funded in part by the public facilities fee. They included the Oak Street parking garage, the Civic Center, 316 Vernon Street, as well as the downtown pedestrian bridge. So on this next slide, we show a summary of the major projects. identified for public facilities fee funding. Together, these projects represent approximately $121 million in total costs across citywide facilities, public safety, and parks and recreation. These amounts reflect the proportional share to be covered through the fee program. We have about $56 million in general city and public safety investments, which include 316 Vernon Street Civic Center, which includes loan repayments and debt service tied to its construction, the Oak Street and historic Old Town parking structures, a significant police department facility expansion representing the largest portion of this category, and the Animal Control Facility Phase 2, as well as the East Side Communication Tower. We also have about $65 million in Parks, Recreation, and Library projects. These projects include Pistachio Regional Park, which is a major new community facility in West Roseville, a splash pad and playground also at Pistachio Regional Park, a skate park in West Roseville, a universally accessible and destination playgrounds, and a new citywide park that we refer to as KT90. Although the total project costs are about $121 million, but our current PFF fund balance is approximately $26.6 million. So that leaves an additional funding need of about $94.5 million. And that gap there is what highlights the reason for the fee update. Now that we've covered the major projects and funding needs, I'm going to hand it off to our consultant, Jamie Gomes, who prepared the Nexus study and developed the recommended fee updates.
Thank you, Scott. EPS, when we update or prepare new impact fee studies, we undertake a very comprehensive process, very structured approach. And the approach which is outlined here on this slide is exactly the same approach we took in 2020 when we brought the Nexus study before the City Council at that time. The only difference this time would be the way in which the fee is expressed, because now you'll see in the proposed Nexus study, fees by square foot range, as opposed to a single fee for low-density residential or medium-density residential. So the data research and analysis includes gathering updated land use information, updated demographic information for the city, such as persons per household or number of employees, as well as the updated capital facility costs that you saw on the prior slide. And all of this work is done in close coordination with city staff. When we prepare a new or an updated impact fee program, there are 3 commonly used methods that can be employed to update a fee. The first method relies on the existing inventory or facilities within a jurisdiction, and it uses that existing level of service as the means by which to determine the impacts of new development. For example, if we were using an existing level of service approach, we might express the fees in a way saying, the city of Roseville currently has 10 square feet of civic space per resident. And in order for new development to contribute to that, we would ask new development to contribute so that we can fund 10 square feet of additional space for every new resident. That's the way in which the existing inventory or existing level of service method works, which is not what we're using here. Instead, in this case, this Nexus study update, consistent with 2020, is using a planned facility method, which instead relies on a specific capital improvement program, which identifies the improvements that are planned to be constructed that are needed to serve new development. And so again, this approach is consistent with 2020. And when we employ this method, new development is only required to pay its proportionate share of the new facility costs. And then the last method, which is also common, or would be more common in a circumstance where the existing level of service was below the city's standard. In that circumstance, it's a hybrid approach wherein the Nexus study would look at the achievable level of service at build-out. And so in that sense, rather than saying we have 10 square feet of space per capita, the build-out level of service standard, maybe we want to get to 20. You can charge new development for their proportional share to get you there, but you can't ask new development to pay for any existing deficiencies. And so again, in this circumstance, consistent with the prior Nexus study, we're using a planned facility method, which is based upon the capital improvement program that Scott shared a couple of slides previously. During the effort of the Nexus Study Update, once we've identified the remaining costs for plant facilities and subtracted the existing fee fund balances that have been collected to fund these improvements, the analysis then allocates the costs across future residents and employees to derive a fee per person served. The fee per dwelling unit, or for non-residential developments, it's expressed on a per building square foot basis, is then based on the relative number of persons per household or number of employees within businesses. The fee also includes a 2% administrative component, which covers the city's cost of administering the fee, collecting the fee, as well as the fee update process that you're undertaking now. This is the first of 3 slides where we're comparing the existing fee the city's collecting with the maximum justifiable fee that's articulated in the Nexus Study report for your consideration. These comparisons are on this slide, are for market rate, single-family residential or multifamily residential projects. And just to orient you for a moment, on the leftmost column, from top to bottom, we have various square foot ranges. So if a unit is below 1,500 square feet, it pays a certain rate. If it's between 1,500 and 2,500, it'll pay another rate. These square foot ranges were not arbitrarily chosen. They are actually in an exact alignment with the square foot ranges that Sparta used when they undertook their update. And that was the first Nexus study, I think, in Placer County that had to comply with AB 602. And during that process, when Sparta undertook that fee update, they reached out to all of the jurisdictions within Placer County. All the cities, City of Roseville, Lincoln, Loomis, et cetera. And each of the jurisdictions agreed that these square foot ranges would be appropriate and consistent, such that it would make it easier to implement fees. You can imagine it would be very challenging if you had fees for different facilities but had varying square foot ranges. So this consistency makes it easy. Lastly, the gray shaded area in the middle, for example, for single-family residential, the current fee is $4,042 per low-density residential unit. If the maximum justifiable fee is adopted, the fee would go to $6,281 per unit, which is about a 55% increase over the current rate. And again, as you can see, smaller units will pay a much lower fee as compared to much larger units. And again, that reflects the relative impacts of larger units with more persons per household having more impact on the facilities in this Nexus study. In the case of the multifamily development, almost $2,700 fee. Most multifamily units are below 1,500 square foot in size. So in that circumstance, the $2,700 fee would go up to $3,420, which is about a 27% increase. On the next slide, we have the comparison of active adult or age-restricted units. Again, if a $2,694 fee went up to $4,283 for a typical unit, which falls in that 1,500 to 2,500 square foot range, the fee for that category is going up by about 59%, which is about $1,589. And then again, on the multifamily side, assuming most units are below 1,500 square feet, that fee actually is only going up by about 6%, or $135 per dwelling unit. Lastly, on the non-residential side, the fees are going up approximately 33 to 43 cents per building square foot, which reflects about a 43 to 44% increase. And so those are the comparisons of the fees for different land use categories. Again, with the major change being now we're expressing residential fees on a building square foot range. The next slide has the depiction of the cost, and Scott covered this in the earlier part of the presentation, but this is a graphical comparison of the costs that are funded by the public facility fee costs of the facilities exceed this amount, but this is the amount that the fee is intended to cover. And you can see from 2015 to 2020, as Scott mentioned, there wasn't a lot of change in the amount of costs funded by the fee. But in this update, we have seen significant cost increases, such that between 2020 and 2025, costs have gone up by about 45% in terms of what the fee is going to be funding. But as Scott mentioned, the construction cost index that escalated the fee between 2020 and 2025 has only gone up about 24%. So the automatic inflation adjustment is not keeping pace with the actual costs of facilities.
I'm sorry, Mayor. Can we have, could you say that again? 'Cause
Yes,
think
I
this
will
is
repeat that.
important.
The costs of fee-funded facilities in the Nexus study have gone up by 45%. The fee between 2020 and 2025, we've been automatically adjusting it each year, but it's only gone up by 24%.
Thank you.
Each time that we prepare a Nexus study, we find it valuable to put the proposed fee in context with similar fees being imposed by other jurisdictions. So this is that type of comparison. This is intended to compare public facility fees collected by other jurisdictions. I do want to point out it's very, very difficult to make an apples-to-apples comparison because your public facility fee includes park, recreation, and library facilities, as well as municipal facilities and police department facilities. Whereas another jurisdiction, like the city of Elk Grove, their fee may include police and fire facilities, but it may not include parks and recreation and library facilities. So this is our best attempt to get as close as possible to comparing the proposed fee with the fees collected by other jurisdictions. If the maximum justifiable fee of $6,281 per dwelling unit is adopted, it would put, as you can see on the slide, put the city of Roseville roughly in the middle of other public facility fees in the region. There are some notable exceptions on here. For example, the city of Sacramento isn't depicted because the city of Sacramento doesn't have a public facility fee that they charge to all new development. Rather, in their case, they negotiate through development agreements or other means of conditions of approval, for example, for large new master plan projects to contribute towards police and fire and library and transit facilities. So we pulled as many comparables as we could. So with that, I will turn it back over to Dennis for some concluding remarks.
Yeah, thanks, Jamie. And before I summarize, I just want to mention with Jamie's support, city staff provided outreach to the Building Industry Association twice, once in March of this year and once in September of this year about this fee program update. So to summarize our presentation, this update of the fee program reflects current construction costs and our community's expectations. The 2025 update does not introduce any new facilities or change existing levels of service. This Nexus study is compliant with Assembly Bill 602, which requires the residential impact fees to be based on a square footage basis. And this update aligns the fees with updated project costs, the accumulated fund balance in the program, population factors, and it accounts for other funding sources. Finally, this fee updates support for the long-term funding needs for the city's public facilities to serve the city's new development areas. So the staff recommendation tonight is to adopt the 2025 Public Facilities Impact Fee Nexus Study and amend the municipal code for the fee updates by introducing an ordinance for a first reading to approve the fee adjustments, which would be effective February 16th, 2026. Thank you, and we're available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dennis. Questions of staff before we move into public comment?
I have 25 questions, but I'll let the vice mayor go first.
Go ahead.
No, you go. You have no questions?
Not yet.
Okay. So I want to understand some terminology. I've read through the Nexus report. So you mentioned capital facilities standards and levels of service. Can you explain what the similarity and difference is?
Sure. In certain circumstances, if you do not have a planned capital improvement program, where you know which police facility headquarters adjustments or enhancements you want to make, you don't have a Parks, Rec, and Library capital improvement program. For jurisdictions that don't have a plan, a nexus study can implement a fee based on an existing level of service. And that's simply a measurement of how much facility space are we providing for our existing population. And in my example, I used 10 square feet of building space per every resident. And so in this circumstance, in the city of Roseville's case, you have a planned capital improvement program. So you have a plan of what you want to build. And examples of what have already been built were included in the presentation. And so the distinction there is now, just like in 2020 and even before that, when the Nexus study was updated previously, the costs of planned facilities are the basis of the allocation of cost to new development. So new development is paying its proportionate share of a planned set of capital improvements.
And does that lie in the general plan or the general plan in each specific plan? And if it's in the specific plan, does it vary by specific plan?
Sure. These are based on your general plan standards. Yeah. Within each of your specific plans, the city has historically used development agreements to address any needs specific to those specific plans.
You used a term, and I wrote it down 3 times, but maximum justifiable fee. And in the paragraph, in the introduction or the executive summary, said the report provides the nexus findings and analysis and associated calculations of the maximum supportable citywide fees that could be charged. We have the ability to go from 0 to the maximum. Is that correct?
That is the council's policy decision, correct. The job of the nexus study is to identify the maximum justifiable fee.
I apologize. I should have asked staff this question first, so you're prepared to answer. But the last time there was a 2015 and a 2020. And between 2015 and 2020, things were starting to come back. You mentioned the CCI. Between 2020 and 2025, did the CCI go like this?
It did, yes.
So we have some years in there that are outliers?
Yeah, between 2020 and 2025?
Right.
Yeah, I would say that's
2021 to
accurate.
2023?
Sure.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Dennis or Scott? Scott actually made this statement that, and I circled it, alternative funding is not keeping pace with construction costs. Can you elaborate more on what you mean by alternative funding?
Our ability to use grants or general fund to make up the gap in significant capital projects is not there.
And you also say competing demands on available funding, maintenance, and core services are new challenges, right? So, okay. I guess I didn't have to. And then I think Jamie answered my question about fees have remained relatively low compared to construction cost increases, all right? Guess I didn't have 25 questions, but it felt like I had 25, so. I think that's it for now, but I may have more later.
Okay, any other questions of
I have
council?
some questions. I don't know if this is for you or for them, but in terms of outliers, can you elaborate a little bit more on outlier years in terms of increased cost since 2020?
On the cost side or the construction cost index that was used to adjust the fee?
What was your question?
If I can make a distinction, because I think I know what
Okay.
you were asking. So I think while the CCI has fluctuated a bit and been higher and lower in those years, I think the answer to that question, Vice Mayor, is costs have continued to increase exponentially. Even though the CCI went up and down, construction costs continue to increase.
Are consistently going up. Okay. I have some questions specific to the regional park, I think RT90. And how, was that in the 2020 projections also?
Yes. It was, it's actually KT50. I think we had a typo in our slide, but it.
Okay, KT50 is what it's
But
called?
yes, it was
Okay.
included in the 2020.
And how do you determine, the anticipated cost for a regional park?
We work with.
And how, because it's not been something that's, I haven't heard a lot about that park, so I'm just wondering how you determine like what that regional park would look like and to determine, anticipated cost to build it.
We work
And
closely
can
with
you talk
our.
about the project? you
Yeah, we
envision?
work closely with our other departments.
There.
Come on.
Hey, Jill.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I'm Jill Geller, your Parks, Recreation, and Libraries Director. And KT50 in particular was designated in the Sierra Vista specific plan to be a ball field complex. It was envisioned to include 8 diamond ball fields with all the supporting amenities.
Does it have a stadium or not have a stadium?
The specific plan does use the word stadium. That was envisioned to mean a championship field that maybe has some more bleachers than a typical field would have. It's not like a semi-professional stadium, but.
Well, we might be getting the Sacramento A's, I don't know.
So we envision this would be a park available to residents?
It would be, and again, much like the soccer complex, it could be used for youth sports clubs, for tournaments. There could be significant sports tourism and economic impact that would come from this facility as well.
Okay, so I know the soccer complex, though, is mostly, it's not available for open use. And I just wondered if we envisioned that this would be available for our residents to use, outside of tournaments.
I think it would be a combination.
I think those are my questions. I may have more.
Okay,
After
all
public
right.
comment.
Any other questions before we go to public comment?
Just the fact that seeing how much the price of everything escalates in the last 5 years. Unreal.
Okay, we'll open up to public comment. Is there anyone here tonight that would like to make a comment? Now would be your time to come forward.
Good evening, Mayor Bernasconi and members of the City Council. Jeff Short, North State Building Industry Association. I don't get to come here as often as I do most of the other jurisdictions that I work in because of the strong level of communication and collaboration between your city staff and our organization, which I greatly appreciate. Unfortunately, this is one of those rare instances where we seem to have some significant disagreements on some of these items in the fee update. So let me start by saying that we don't raise any objection to the public facilities portion of the public facility increase. There are a few questions we have about some of the cost amounts and what the allocation is to new development, but ultimately the adjustment seems reasonable enough given how expensive everything is getting these days. So we raise no objection on that side. But that does lead me to our real concern, and that is affordability and the costs associated with a few of these park, rec, and library components. Specifically, the two would be the Pistachio Park Community Center and Library and the KT50 baseball project. I understand, I think, better than your average advocate would and appreciate that we are in desperate need of additional community center and ball field facilities in this city. And I also understand and appreciate the development is not being asked to foot the entire bill for these large projects. After all, there isn't that much building to be left in the current plan compared to what these would cost. However, these are still $200 million facilities that we're talking about put together, $200 million worth of construction that we're talking about, 56 million of which is being asked to be put on the last bit of new development left in the city. Frankly, we are not convinced that these facilities, as currently envisioned, are necessary to maintain the city's reputation for high-quality parks in the city. I'd remind you, of course, as was, I think, kind of starting to be discussed at the end of the questions there, that these fees talked about tonight are in addition to the fees that developers have to pay within the development agreements or a specific plan for the local parks, which are also seeing cost increases as well. So as an alternative to picking the maximum fee here, which, this is a $2,000 increase for the price of a modest 1,700 to 2,200 square foot home. I'd ask that we continue to look for additional funds, consider operational or different ways of envisioning these programs. Some things to consider are rather than a new library, could we consider expanding library services in the virtual realm or offering library programming in other city facilities, including the community center? Also, think about what amenities are needed for the ballpark KT50 facility and whether or not that amount of expense is needed, or might it be better to do ballparks throughout the city instead? Most importantly, this proposal does not come to you in a vacuum. Like all of California, we're seeing incredible affordability issues in the city of Roseville. And again, looking at a modest 1,700 to 2,200 square foot, I think it's 1,500 to 2,500. We're asking $2,000 in additional fees. That's going to price a good amount of our local residents out of being able to afford a new home. In addition, we know that the city is looking at other fee increases in the coming year or so related to infrastructure that are going to be on top of whatever increase happens at the parks. So we would ask that you direct the staff to continue working with us, refining this proposal and looking for a fee amount that is helpful to the continued affordability within the city while maintaining high-quality parks. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to make a public comment? Now would be your time to come forward.
I wasn't planning to speak on this item. I didn't even know much about this item, nor have I been in consult on this item. But I am very involved in the neighborhood associations, especially on the western side of town where I live. And I can tell you it's a huge issue. We heard a lady talk about, the kids on the sidewalk. There's really, the things for kids to do on the western side of town is hang out at Mojo's, Safeway, and Rayleigh's. And those are causing problems for our community. There's nothing else out there. And we have neighborhood parks, but we don't have anything fun and cool on the west side of town. And so I know we don't want to make this impossible for the developers. You guys have a decision to make, and I know you're going to talk about it, and I'm not trying to push one way or another, but I do want to say, make sure we've got funding for amenities on the west side of town. This is a really big issue. We've got tons of people that live out there and kids all over the place with nothing to do. And having wonderful designs for Pistachio Park is great, but they're on paper. That doesn't help our community until they happen. So keep that in mind, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for this item? Now would be your time. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Mike Whipple, DFA, local resident as well. Excuse me. As it relates to the Nexus study, I think it's important to understand AB 602 goes a little bit further than just quantifying fees on a per square foot basis. It also requires that the Nexus study do level of service calculations. And there is no level of service calculation in the current Nexus study. It can't just rely on what you've done in the past. AB 602 talks about these, has critical concerns about taking old Nexus studies and moving them forward without actually going through and doing a level of service calculation. It also talks about language in there that if the new Nexus study is increasing the fees, that you have to go back and look at the assumptions that were identified in the previous study in 2020. And so the Nexus study is very lacking as it relates to compliance with AB 602. I think it's very critical that those elements be looked at, especially because we talk about we're meeting level of service standards, we're just maintaining the same level of service. Where is it in the analysis that it shows that it quantifies that we know what's being asked from new development is actually maintaining the current level of service standard, and that we're not being asked to fund something beyond our reasonable and proportionate share. It's tough to say when you have these planned facility Nexus studies to truly understand what everyone's fair share could be without doing the more detailed requirements associated with AB 602. That's the reason why the law was put into place, is to mitigate these types of issues where you can't look at a nexus study, you can't quantify what our fair share is moving forward, and we don't understand what the level of service standards that are being asked and are being provided. And with that, I'm happy to answer any other questions that may come up during tonight. Thank you.
Anyone else for this item? Okay, seeing none, close public comment.
Mayor, I remembered a few more of my questions.
Okay, and I'll close the public hearing and then we'll, go ahead.
Yeah. Hospital facilities, we're a hospital, regional hospital hub, healthcare system hub. Where do hospital facilities fall in the list? Are they, I didn't see them.
Right. This fee does not include hospital facilities of any kind.
Okay. And I did not see in the Nexus study, and maybe it's not a requirement of Nexus studies, but these facilities will require operation and maintenance. Do we have a sense of what the operation and maintenance costs for these facilities would be, and where does that money come from for operation and maintenance?
These facilities are going to be constructed in the future. We don't have an idea at this point in time what those operation and maintenance costs will be, but they will be a cost of the general fund as their citywide facilities. And so the ability to fund the O&M will help dictate the timing of delivering the projects.
So what was comforting and concerning to me as I read through the Nexus study and I saw the proportional share for new development, there's a significant proportion. Let's just take the baseball facility. There's 14 million, if I remember correctly, that is in the PFF, the public facilities fee. But then there's a significant additional, I can't remember the number, but significant additional funding. How sure are we of that additional funding? And the facility can't go forward till you have all the funding, is that correct?
That's correct.
Well, so typically with the large citywide facilities like this, it's very infrequent that they're built in one phase. Typically, as you get funding, you build these larger, like Maidu, Mahaney.
Central Park.
Correct.
Stone
They're
Ridge.
built in phases. So I think that's one piece that I would share. The other piece and why Dennis is absolutely right, we don't have an exact cost today. We have standards, right? And so we look at our facilities and we recognize that sports facilities are high level. They're between, and my number's a little old. Jill can correct me if I'm wrong, but I would say roughly $15,000 to $20,000 an acre on the high end, right? And as low as maybe $10,000 an acre on the low end. So we can we can calculate that out. But they're so far in the future, what those costs are today is very difficult. So we would be probably a decade out before we started calculating that. But to your point, Bruce, yes, those would be sales tax, property tax, general fund dollars. But I would envision in those larger facilities partnerships, potentially with the county, with Placer County, potentially with some of the leagues, the baseball leagues, like we see with the soccer complex, where we have local leagues and we have some of our competitive leagues that are helping fund the long-term maintenance of those facilities. Staff is certainly already thinking about that, and as we move closer to those times, it's something that we would certainly be looking at.
Okay, thank you for that. And that triggered another question. You said the baseball facility was part of the Sierra View specific plan? Vista View, Vista and View, right? So, is there a site for that?
There is. a
And is
site
it
for
on the
that.
edge of, is it up against our sphere of influence? And
It is.
is it a
It's-
regional facility? Can we get money out of the other development?
We could certainly look to partner with them, yes.
Because it seems like, and the mayor will remember the conversation we had with Community Priorities Advisory Committee. We build these facilities. They are terrific. They're best in class. And they attract folks from outside the city. And the little nominal difference in what we charge, is is their fair share.
I think those types of partnerships is what Dawn was talking about, could be the supplemental funding to what would be provided by the city.
Erickson Senior Housing, yeah, how does that, is the senior facility self-contained? Is there anything any credit they get for, or are they already existing? Because this fee is paid at. Permit? Thank you. And they haven't pulled a permit yet, have they? So how is that demand calculated in the PFE?
When you refer to them as self-contained, the residents there are still going to use the citywide facilities, the citywide parks, the police
Maybe not.
services. I'm sorry?
Maybe not. Okay. Anyway, I think that, I think with my questions, you understand, that, and if affordability is on everybody's mind, right? And so if the affordability is found in other areas, it has an impact on the quality of life of Roseville. So we have to find this balance, in my view, between people who will come to our area, impact our streets, impact our quality of life, and we have to be careful in our decision on this. We have a goal of remaining fiscally responsible in a changing time, and we certainly are in a changing time. I remember 2013, right, the period of time between 2008 and 2013, which was a very different time than the period of time between 2020 and 2025. So I think we really need to be very careful as we make a decision on this, and bind future councils, because these facilities, most of them will not materialize and take the kids away from Mojo's and other places in this council's lifetime, or this council's period of time. So I think we really need to be very careful on our decision today about the future residents and businesses of Roseville. So that was more than questions, but thank you, Mayor.
Any other questions of council?
I did my research prior to the meeting, and I came in here with a different set of questions, but after listening to Bruce and Jeff Short, actually, what he said kind of made me revise and really dial back what I was going to say. So I'll just hit some of my fine points. I guess I'll just start with, because it was just recently what Bruce just said, so I'll just follow up on that. I'm concerned. I'd like to know a little more about the sports tourism dollars, maybe some TOT money. I mean, especially for the baseball facility. I hadn't honed in so much on the percentage, and thank you, Jeff and staff, for putting two very distinct slides up there as far as the percentages. But it's 30 to 40% in some cases, increase on these fees. And my concern is we're not the only city in California nor across the country that's being held hostage, and I use that word specifically, over the increase of labor and materials since 2023. But I do have a concern, and Bruce made a good point, and I'm sure other council members will probably pick up on it too. I don't want to price people out of moving to Roseville. We do such a good job. Jill, your department does a good job. Our other departments, our public safety, our facilities, everyone does a great job providing this community and this just wonderful city that we get awards, every month for something that we do because we're doing so much of it right. And I feel like people come here looking for certain amenities. They come here looking for things that we provide, and we provide them extremely well. But my concern is that these are going to be passed on, and it's going to increase the price of these homes on top of what's already hugely inflated from the labor and material side. I'm concerned. These are big numbers, 30 to 40% increases in some cases, in certain areas. And then I compare that to the industrial slide that was up there. and we're looking to kind of increase some of our industrial presence on the west side, and we've got some projects moving through. And I look at those increases, and it's almost a better bet, if you're going to build in our city, to go on the industrial side than residential. And I don't want us to miss out on the opportunity, with great new schools like West Park and parks and facilities that we're putting in. We're doing all the hard work to attract the people, and they can't come here to live. I feel like there's a disconnect there. So I do have a concern, and I'd like to kind of see if there's a way for us to bridge this gap somewhere. I know it's necessary. I know that no one works for free, and labor and materials have increased, but that's sticker shock. It really is. So that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Cucci?
Well, I agree with you, the prices have gone up. It's really hard to buy a house. It's hard to buy a lot of different things. I think we have to keep in mind, this is one of our last areas, our specific plans that we have here in Roseville. And some of the things that you're looking for is a rec center or a library are things that we have in the other parts of the city. And unfortunately, there's a price tag that's with them. But I want to make sure that these people in the west side, their facilities and their lifestyle is commensurate with the rest of the city.
Okay. I have a couple questions and then comments. The Nexus, it's been studied 2015, 2020, 2025, adjusted over time through CCI. Is there talk about shortening that time frame for this study, basically, so we avoid being in this position?
Yes, we have discussed that because none of us like to see large increases in fees. And we know from lots of different other types of fees that the city has that we like doing more regular updates. In this case, with development impact fees, 5 years has been historically kind of the typical schedule, but with the cost increases that we've seen over the last 5 years, I think we're all leaning towards doing this more often.
Maybe every 2 to 3. I mean, we're in, I don't want to use the word unprecedented, but, the prices are skyrocketing across the board. And so it's hard for, my concern is that, if we approve these, and by the time these actually get built, they're going to be way underfunded. I mean, look at the price of the soccer complex or major developments that the city has had, and we think it's enough at that time in that year, and then go out 5-7 years and it's underfunded.
Good point.
Can you discuss the process of working with the development community over time on this Nexus study? Or the collaboration between the city and maybe the Building Industry Association?
Well, 5 years ago, when we brought forward the study, we met with the Building Industry Association and provided a presentation. But we had not experienced the kind of cost escalation that we had this time. And so this time, when Jamie and his firm put together the draft of the Nexus study in January, February of this year, we provided a presentation to the BIA, really just going over the challenges that we were facing because of the significant cost increases in most of the facilities in the study. And we recognized that it wasn't palatable to us or to anyone.
And that was earlier in the year.
That was in March.
And they saw the numbers.
That was in
then.
March. We presented the challenges that we were coming across. We didn't even present numbers at that point because they were so drastic to us. So we met in March and provided that information. And then we went back, we worked with staff throughout the city to kind of fine tune and figure out, why each project in the study is necessary. And there were a few things that departments had asked for that we said, that's not necessary. We're going to take that out. And we found in a few projects where there were other funding sources that we needed to capture to really nail down, how much the public facility fee program can pay for, must pay for. And so then Jamie and his firm provided an updated draft of the full Nexus study. And we went back to the BIA in September and presented the information then. And then in October, we provided them a draft of the full study for their review.
Just a few thoughts. I mean, our city as is, we're going to continue to grow over the next 20 or 30 years. We have not experienced a shortage of residents moving to our city. I mean, we're a highly desirable city. As Councilmember Cucci said, you know, we get often one shot at development. We want to make sure that it's done right. We want to be responsible with what they're with what we're asking the development community to pay. As Councilmember Hadashot mentioned, you know, one of this council's goals is being fiscally responsible, not living beyond our means, not charging more for the service than is provided to the residents. There is concerns about on the west side, you know, folks move out there and then say they don't have amenities, or they don't have a gas station, or they don't have a grocery store, or they don't have things like that, you know, and I think projects like this will help, hopefully, can be a reciprocal relationship between developing that demand for that. I would be in favor of staff exploring this nexus study more often than 5 years, so we're not in this position again. You know, and just another point too is that, you know, we all have choices, right, where we move, you know, where we move in Roseville. You know, we don't necessarily all have to live on the west side. You know, we have 150,000, 160,000 people in our city. You know, they're moving throughout our city. I mean, certainly there's a more concentration of maybe people that are moving on the west side or want new houses, but we have housing throughout our city as well. So those are some thoughts as we kind of take into account this public hearing tonight. I think that's it for my comments. Does any other council members have anything to add before we?
I do.
Yes.
I do. I had raised the same issue about why wait 5 years. It does seem like looking at 2015, 2020, now 2025, that, you know, we're kind of in an unprecedented time. And I also know that the number of, you know, the amount of building that we can do on the west side, while it's been rapidly, you know, being built out, that, you know, there is an end in sight as far as our current city limits. You know, and I live in this district where these projects, I hear the pain points on a very regular basis around even just not being able to get neighborhood parks, which are, you know, much less expensive than some of these larger projects. In one of our specific plans with Amarusa Ranch, we have a situation where development fees with the school district, it's not a city issue, but, you know, the schools, they don't see a vision for building a school that people moved into the community and thought. So I am very concerned about, I'm sensitive to the fees, the amount of increase. I'm very sensitive to that, and the, you know, what that does to the building community. But I'm also really sensitive to folks moving into a new community with ideas of having some of these amenities built out. And I'm really concerned about, like, these are large projects. So when I listen to you, Dom, in terms of we need to think about how do we start getting some of these things built. You know, if we wait until all the money's there, it's going to be a long time before folks are going to enjoy, you know, a regional park or a community center. So I'm really leaning, I also was looking at the fees. You know, Roseville's around 6,200, Placer County's almost 1,000 more. Folsom is about 500 more. Rancho Cordova is only a couple $100 less. So it seems like in some of those areas that I would say are kind of comparable in terms of, you know, where there's a lot of growth, that are, even with that high increase, we're right in there. You know, it's not, I wouldn't want to see us as like the top, but I also feel like maybe it's just Roseville pride that we have very high standards, and that is partly why we don't have a shortage of people wanting to move, you know, to the city. So I think these amenities will actually, if we can get some of them started, will actually be more of a draw to have people want to move into our community and to buy these houses and to perhaps pay a little bit more, you know, for that level of service. So I guess those would be my comments. I do think we should consider the ROI. You know, I know there's cost involved in nexus studies, but the ROI of maybe not waiting 5 years to do the next one.
Yep, and the last thing I want is for these projects to be underfunded.
I don't want to be in that situation. I think more people would probably rather, you know, pay a little more for their house and be able to enjoy living on the west side of town, because currently it just puts more burden on all the other parks that, you know, when you're driving, you can't get to the parks easily. You know, in some parts of our city, there's not, especially with little kids, even to ride a bike, it's not safe.
This fee is charged anywhere in the city, correct? It's not exclusively the west side.
That's correct.
What impact would this have on our vision for commercial quarters, for residential or new businesses in our commercial quarters plan?
I don't know.
I can speak to that. Good evening, Council. Mike Ice, Mayor Development Services Director. In the corridor plans, there's a lot of existing buildings that would take advantage of fee credits. There's very few vacant parcels that would be net new construction. So most likely it would balance out.
Yeah, thank you. And my point is that while it's there, it carries through, right? So my amateur economics is that if this point is not an affordable point, people seek out where affordability is, and then costs rise in those areas as well. So it's not exclusively, while these facilities that are listed here are largely on the west side, it's not for the west side. It's charged throughout the city, and it has an impact throughout the city, so.
Yes, on new construction.
Yes, on new construction, because it doesn't affect.
An
like-
existing home.
Like the old consolidated, it's being redeveloped, that doesn't, so.
But my
Or
concern.
businesses.
I agree with my fellow council members, but I guess my concern is that this is on new development. So to the vice mayor's point and to Mayor Bernasconi's point, we need these amenities, you know, on that side of Roseville. And we had public comment where it was stated that there aren't things to do out there, and I think we all know that. But we are going to promise these items. We've heard the presentation tonight, but they're not even going to get kickstarted until this new construction kicks off. So we still haven't solved the existing, you know, people are out there wanting this. We're promising people who are buying these new homes, the new construction, that we're charging more for on the back end to produce these amenities. I just kind of feel like we've all been in this position over the years where in even the parks and the grocery stores and the Nugget that came out there and all these things on the west side, people got agitated because they were promised services, they were promised amenities, and then we were slow to deliver. And I feel like we're putting ourselves back in that situation where we have to wait for this construction to start to even get some of these online. I just don't want to be in a situation where we're over-promising and under-delivering.
Yeah, but that's what happens when you move into a growing.
I get it, I get
neighborhood
it.
It's not developed, is that you have to wait for these things versus an established neighborhood where the amenities are already there. That's just what happens when you move into a new neighborhood.
So I guess maybe we need to manage expectations. I mean, I'm just concerned because we do have existing people out there that, you know, it's like we keep telling them wait a little more, and then we are adding new people that are coming in with this new construction that we're going to fund these projects with that new construction.
Totally.
So it's just a concern. I'm not saying that good, bad, or indifferent. I'm concerned for the people out there because I feel like they've been so patient with us, and then we're going to add more people out there, and we're going to ask them to be patient as well, so.
I don't see the issue as the building. It's about having a fee basis to build out the communities. I mean, housing projects will continue to get approved, whether the fee is where it is now or $200. And as I've really looked at this, it feels more irresponsible to future councils to not collect what we know fees may be needed to just get some of these large projects off the ground.
And this will impact Baseline Marketplace, right? They will be subjected, Costco's there. Anything else that goes into that area will pay these increased fees, correct?
For building permits that have not been.
They'll have to make a business decision, I guess, right? So, anyway.
Okay, any other comments, questions before we have a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion. It's not the motion.
Okay, well, let's have our clerk read it and then we can.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. On item 21, the City Council will consider the recommendation to adopt Resolution Number 25-358, adopting the 2025 Public Facilities Impact Fee Nexus Study, and introduce for a first reading an ordinance approving adjustments to the public facility fee and amending Roseville Municipal Code Section 4.52.10, 4.52.20, 020, 4.52.040, 4.52.050, 4.52.060, 4.52.070, 4.52.080, 4.52.090, and 4.52.130 of the Chapter 4.52 related to public facilities fees. At this time, may I please have a motion to approve?
I'd like to make a substitute motion. That those.
We currently have a motion on the floor. No,
Did
we need
somebody
to,
make a did somebody make a motion?
Well, maybe we do first and second and then discussion?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
can I get a motion on the, to approve?
I thought
Yes.
substitute motion came before the motion.
That is different procedural rules that aren't in our meeting procedures.
Are we Rosenberg or Roberts
We're
rules?
Rosenberg.
And so a substitute motion is not considered before the motion?
We use Rosenberg's
I
to
mean,
the
my
ex-
substitute motion could die for lack of a second, so we could dispense of that, but, right?
So we use Rosenberg's only to the extent that our own meeting procedures don't address anything. So we need a motion and a second, we'll do a discussion, and then we can proceed from there.
So currently, we do have a motion on the floor. The question is, do we have, do we have an approval of the motion? Can I
Yes,
get,
of the,
We have a first and a second.
so the motion is to adopt the resolution introduced for a first reading. The question is, can I get a motion to approve?
Yes.
I got a first, can I get a second? Okay,
Can I second?
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
You can
second.
you can do a second, you just can't do it first.
right. So we have a motion on the floor with the second. We will do our roll call, because we
Well,
do
let's
have a
have a
motion.
discussion.
Oh, you want a
Let's have a
discussion first?
discussion.
Okay.
Councilmember Haushat, did you want to?
Yeah, I was gonna, I know, I appreciate everybody's sensitivity to this, and sensitivity to making sure that Roseville remains what it has always been. We're gonna go through periods of time, and we're not very prosperous, okay? And we may be entering that period of time. I was gonna suggest that maybe we just bring this back on the 17th and have a little more discussion, because that's our next city council meeting, and try to get it, because I know, I agree that we don't want to lose the opportunity. We don't want people to rush out and pull building permits at a lower rate. We want to capture the money that we can, but like I said, I look out my window and I see for sale signs that have been up a lot longer than they typically have. So in my view, we're entering a different period of time, and I would suggest we take just a breath and come back on December 17th and consider the motions that are before us then, but not tonight.
Any other
I have a
comments?
question. Once it's assuming we approved this, what's the timeline for it going into effect?
We would bring it back for a second reading on December 17th, and then the fee would be effective, I believe it was February 16th of next year.
So is there a certain period of time?
Yes.
What is the February 16th based on, from the first
45
reading?
days, 60 days after.
60 days after second reading? Okay, so if we had a first reading in December, or a second one in January, you'd be pushing it out.
No, tonight's
This would be the
first
first reading, right?
This is first reading.
Not if we don't approve it.
Right, not if we don't.
Not if we don't approve it.
That's true.
I mean, if we decided to postpone it till December, then would that postpone the first reading also, or?
Yes, that would be the first reading. if you
In
decide to do
December.
it.
And then we'd have a second reading in January.
Correct.
And then it would, 60 days after that would be
Push us
March.
on the March.
And what would you want to do in the next 30 days? Like, how would that help you feel?
I think staff's heard our concerns, and maybe they have a few, well, what would be the alternative to the maximum fee that would be justifiable to charge? I think that's the first thing. And we have to think about those scenarios, right? How much money does that collect? How much money, where is the additional money? Because what we approve tonight will not build anything. It will set in motion a portion of the funding, but most of the funding is bonds, sales tax, other things that we're not approving tonight. We're approving a CIP, and so, that's my concern, and that's why I just asked for us to take a beat.
You know, we didn't always build everything at one time. I mean, we built our fire departments, parks, when we could, when we had the money, and sometimes when we found something that was unforeseen that gave us money, that was good too. So it's not gonna be, you know, all of us have been here watching Sierra Vista specific plan, the first one going through, and how hard it was, but we finally have seen the stores are going in and things are going in. Not as fast as the other ones, but they're going in, and you gotta be somewhere. You gotta keep that momentum going.
And the projects, I think this is for Jill, you know, because I've seen neighborhood parks that were designed and approved, and then costs went up with the length of getting them built, and we've had to scale it back or do it in phases, but ultimately, you know, the park got built. And so I think my concern would continue to be that, you know, this is a small portion of what's needed. Granted, we're gonna have to have other dollars to get these projects off the ground, but I'm more concerned that with the continued escalation, that the longer we delay in collecting the fees, that we're gonna be underfunding these projects, and we'll be in that position of having to scale back projects or not, you know, or postpone projects.
And the market will determine development activity. Yeah. Okay, we know we have a motion on the floor. Do we have any other discussion before we have a vote? Anything else? Are we
Thank you,
good?
Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you. With a motion on the floor and a second, we'll start our roll call with Vice Mayor Elbert,
Yes.
Councilmember Haudashelt,
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza,
No.
Councilmember Rakucci,
Yes.
and Mayor Bernasconi.
Yes.
Vote is 4-1, motion passes.
And we'll be back on the 17th for a second reading.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
No, thank you. This was a good discussion.
That ends it for our agenda. We'll go into staff and council reports, and we'll start with our city attorney and our city manager to see if they have any comments to share this evening.
I don't have anything, thank you.
No
Thanks
further
for-
reports, Mayor.
Thanks for keeping us on track, too. Yes. Okay, council members, do we want to, Councilmember Mendoza?
Did we do the second public opportunity?
Oh, you're right. Thank you.
No, I screwed that up earlier today when
No.
I was chairing the meeting, so.
Pause just for a second. A second public comment. Is there anyone here tonight that would like to make a comment? Now would be your time. Okay, we'll close public comment. Thank you for the reminder. Anything tonight, Councilmember Mendoza?
Just one thing. This morning, I was able to attend the Placer County District Attorney Retail Theft Initiative kickoff at the Galleria Mall. It was a good presentation, good reminder that crime doesn't pay in our city, and was well attended by a lot of our community members. And just want to wish all of our residents a happy and tasty Thanksgiving. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Rakucci?
Yeah. A couple meetings and a presentation I was able to see today. I had a meeting with Northern California Power Association. It's been always active on electric issues. Our general manager is retiring, so we're in a point of doing recruitment, and so that's kept us pretty busy. And another organization I belong to is South Placer Wastewater Authority, and we've been busy talking about maintenance, building, and projects that are coming up to date, and cost of service and connection fees and what that means. And today, as you went in the morning to the Galleria, I was down Roseville doing, we're two different ends of town. And this was at the fire facility, and it was called Operation of OES and training, and it was Office of Emergency Services, Union Pacific, and the city of Roseville teamed up together. And so if you go out off of PFE Road, you'll see their center, and you've seen the smokehouse, the heat building that they use for practice. Well, next to it, they have tanker cars, but they also added more tanker cars, and they're much more sophisticated to show the firefighters how to get into them and take care of the situation and keep residents safe. And this is one of the only ones that they have in California. I thought they said in the United States, but I can't remember that, so I'll say at least California, of being this sophisticated. And it's a good team effort with these three groups. And what they've also said, because they do a lot of things working together, it makes it good when they're unfortunately there is a situation where they're called. Many of them know each other and they know what to expect from each entity and work real well as a team. So it was pretty nice.
Did you get in there and do
anything? No, I didn't climb on anything.
Photo op.
Okay, well, what they did have, and I
Okay, here we go.
Well, I put that on a video, but I haven't put it on. They show you like a petroleum tanker that's on its side, and there's different ways to approach it depending on, where it's leaking and things like that. But one of them is where they stick like a metal rod in it, and it looks like, it almost reminds you of 4th of July, but all of a sudden it's getting the gas to escape and into big fires, literally right next to them. I'm thinking, how safe is that? Because that thing's going to explode. But essentially it doesn't. But it was showing you how to do it. But it was dynamic to see. Yeah, that was.
Thanks for going out there.
This was
All
good.
right. Vice Mayor Albert?
So I was out this
yeah,
afternoon
just-
also.
Karen
No,
and I.
I was hoping you would remember all of the parties. It is, I think, the only in California.
Yeah, it was.
I'm not sure about the United States, but it's a pretty, it's a pretty awesome training center, and it draws folks, here we have a specialty, and our department is called out to go other places too because of the specialized training that we have and can offer here. So I was just going to say, very excited for Friday night that we'll be doing our grand opening for the soccer complex, which is literally right outside my neighborhood. So I've been watching it be
Can
built.
I park in your
And no, there are almost 1,000 parking spaces, and you will take one of those. But yeah, it'll be fun. So I know that a lot of the neighbors around us are really excited to come out and celebrate. And it's going from 6 to 8:30, I think, and food trucks and some fun things out in the field. So I'm excited for that.
Nice. Us too.
I think that's about it between now and
Bruce,
last
you'll
time.
see right here, council parking in red, right up front. You're gonna be okay.
I'm gonna ride my e-scooter.
And it's on the playground side.
But Karen is charging
Right, on the north
$20 a
side.
car if you want
Yes.
to park in the driveway.
Yes.
That's true. I'll charge you.
Will you?
$15.
Yeah, I'll
It's a
pay.
bargain.
Yeah,
Do you have any comments?
Yeah, really quickly, I went out on November 11th. I'm sure you were at some of other Veterans Day. I know, Mary, you were going to another thing. I went out to
forgot.
Lincoln
Yeah,
where they
that
have the Placer County Veterans Wall. I attended that. On the 13th, we had our Western Placer Waste Management Authority Board meeting. As part of that, we approved right away for an energy line that'll benefit Roseville. There's some work to do out at the Western Placer Waste Management Authority to get it up to what it was envisioned when Councilman Alvord was on the board, Councilman Rakucci was on the board. So we continue to press to make progress on that. That was tomorrow is the SACOG Board of Directors. This morning, I chair, and this is why I knew, because I forgot the extra public comment. So I chair the Capitol Court Joint Powers Authority Board. So I sit on that with Councilman Broadway from Rockland. So we were went down to Oakland, came back, and yeah. And there's there's other things like
Yeah.
that. It's a busy time of the year.
It is.
Yep, so, thank you, Mayor.
It is. A few things to share. Our city is really going to come alive in the next few weeks, if it wasn't already, between the soccer complex opening on Friday evening at 6 p.m. I heard you really early this morning on KFBK, Jill, doing an interview. So I'm sure the word is out there, and I would just encourage folks to get out there early, even though there are 1,000 parking spots. I think they're probably all going to be very filled. Encourage everyone to carpool too, if possible. And then between that and then next week, the turkey trot downtown, and then the following week is all sorts of holiday things kick off between the tree grove, the tree lighting. Santa will be coming around our neighborhoods. Some of my, what's that?
Ice skating.
Oh, yeah, and the ice skating rink,
You'll be
that's
out
going to
there?
be great.
Oh, no.
Yeah, she's going to move from
I'm going to send
Oh,
my
yes,
kids, my
to
grandkids out there.
ice skating.
Yeah.
I was asked to attend the Roseville Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors Conference that they had over the weekend. I was there Friday in San Francisco and gave them an update on everything that's happening, that the council activities we have going on in economic development throughout our city. One of my committee assignments is the Roseville Police Activities League. We had a meeting, their last event, the Bacon and Brew, was a successful event, I think netting over $30,000. And then the RPAL puts together a leadership group of students, and I was asked to go and speak with a handful of students that are in that class about leadership. So I did that one evening last week. I will be with our city clerk and our city clerk's department tomorrow night here in this building at 116 Grant Street for the candidate workshop for anyone who's interested in running for council next year. There are 2 seats that will be open in District 2 and 4, and that's at 5 to 6 p.m. Anything else on that? Nope, okay. And then the preparations are underway for the Greater Sacramento Economic Council's program in Germany that I'll be attending in about 10 days. I was looking at my watch because right now it will be 5 a.m. When we went last time, it was like a series of all-nighter, so I really have to start, no amount of coffee can fix that. But I will be giving kind of a presentation while we're there. We meet with all kinds of German companies, and then we'll be meetings with Bosch as well, which is really important for our community. So I will be back Friday evening just in time for the parade the next day. So I think that's all of the comments that I have. I would like to adjourn us, and we will be back here December 17th at 6 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good meeting.